Here's the podcast script. In Japan's so-called Little Brazil, a World Cup showdown is testing the loyalties of an entire community.
That's the story out of Oizumi, a small Japanese town about 60 miles north of Tokyo, where roughly 4,800 Brazilians live, many of them of Japanese descent. And right now, with Japan and Brazil facing off in the knockout stage of the World Cup, the people of Oizumi are caught in the middle. To understand why this place exists at all, you have to go back more than a century. In 1908, the first group of Japanese immigrants, about 800 people, arrived in Brazil on a ship called the Caçado Maru to work on coffee plantations. Japan at the time was dealing with rural poverty and overpopulation, and Brazil was an appealing destination, partly because informal U.S. policies were limiting the entry of non-Europeans. That migration kept going, and today Brazil is home to the largest Japanese diaspora in the world, about 2.7 million people. Then, by 1990, the flow reversed. Japan needed overseas workers for manufacturing and construction, and relaxed its normally strict immigration policies to allow second and third generation Japanese Brazilians to come work there. Today, around 210,000 Brazilians live in Japan, in cities like Nagoya, Toyota City, Hamamatsu, and Oizumi. Oizumi is something else. Private schools teach both Portuguese and Japanese. Churches sit next to Shinto shrines. The smells of churrasco and ramen mix in the air. The town's mayor, ahead of this game, put up posters wearing a jersey that's half Japanese, half Brazilian, with the words Go, Japan, on one side and Vamos Brazil on the other. The official message, cheer for both. But the residents themselves are not so neutral. At a Brazilian cultural celebration held in Oizumi just days before the match, a Japanese TV crew asked 25 residents for their predictions. 20 out of 25 said Brazil would win. Brazil has taken the World Cup 5 times. Japan, though it's had a strong run this tournament, is considered the underdog. The last time these two met at a World Cup was 2006, and Brazil won 4-1. 9-year-old Carlos Eduardo Santos, born in Oizumi to Brazilian immigrants, was at that celebration in a glittering green and white carnival costume, waving a Brazilian flag and shouting Vamos, Brazil. He and his mother, Karen, who works at a nearby Mitsubishi plant, planned to wake up in the early hours of Tuesday morning local time to watch the game live. "It's a bit sad because I'm here in Japan," he said, "but my heart is in Brazil." Not everyone is so clear-cut. Yoji Nakajima, a 53-year-old professional dancer who performed at the same event, has no family ties to Brazil at all, but he says he feels deeply connected to the freedom and warmth of its culture. Still, he's going with Japan. "It's so difficult, because I love both countries," he said, wearing a feathered headdress. "But this time, I will support Japan, because we have been dreaming for so long to be the champions." And then there's Amanda Hashimoto, 36, whose grandparents emigrated from Japan to Brazil before World War II. She was born in Brazil, and her family is rooting for Brazil. Her 12-year-old daughter Sofia is calling it 5-0. "In Brazil, we are crazy about soccer, life stops for the World Cup," Amanda said. "We want Brazil to win. But however it turns out, life will go on." For some residents, the game carries weight beyond the scoreboard. Jose Ricardo Rocha Diaz, who immigrated from Sao Paulo more than 2 decades ago and works at a steel forging plant, has been playfully taunting his Japanese co-workers, but he also sees this moment as something bigger. Oizumi, like the rest of Japan, has seen the rise of far-right movements targeting foreigners, including the Brazilian Japanese community. "It's a moment for the two countries to come together," he said, "for the Japanese people not to see us as a threat or as an enemy, but as a brother." In a town that is quite literally split down the middle, culturally, linguistically, emotionally, this World Cup match is more than just a game. It's a mirror held up to a century of shared history between two countries that have given each other more than most people realize. That's the story from Oizumi, Japan's Little Brazil.